My name's Chad. I work pretty close to here at Atlas IED. Spent 13 years in the military before that. Went into cybersecurity immediately after I got out of the military and didn't look back.
I'm James. I work at Atlas IED as well. I recently got into IT. I was always a hobbyist. Got a few certifications. Worked at a temp agency doing some tech support for a while, and landed a job at Atlas, and here I am. It's 3 years later.
So we're going to be talking about the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. Is there anybody in here that does not know what that is? No? Yeah? All right, cool, fantastic. So we'll go over that a little bit, and then we'll start talking about some of our experience and how we apply it organizationally. All right, so this is our agenda, what we're going to go over. So those of you that have heard of NIST and the cybersecurity framework, does anybody know when NIST was founded? Any idea? Maybe a rough time frame? Yeah? 1901, NIST was founded. It was the Nation's Measurement and Standards Laboratory. And in 1988, it got rebranded into the National Institute for Standards and Technology. So when we talk about NIST in this context, we're really just talking about the cybersecurity framework. And there have been multiple iterations of the cybersecurity framework. The first iteration focused on critical infrastructure. That was pretty much it. It didn't have a lot of the business-focused risk management solutions that are in there now. It was focused on like government organizations and things like that. So why did NIST get picked to do the cybersecurity framework? Well, they were a non-regulatory body. So there was no forcing anybody to do anything. It was just, NIST aligned with the framework, or NIST aligned with the executive order that formed the cybersecurity framework. And their mission was essentially to create or to improve critical infrastructure, right, through this executive order.
Yeah, so the executive order's name was Improving Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity. At the time, I think Obama signed the executive order, and there was a push to get things like electric grids, healthcare agencies, and things like that up to par when it comes to cybersecurity, and to start taking things more seriously, because there wasn't a standardized way to implement cybersecurity. So NIST was chosen in the executive order to be the agency to create the cybersecurity framework. And it's not reinventing the wheel, it's just taking best practices and putting them into a structure that's easy enough to follow. And it's not only for critical infrastructure. You can take the same policies and practices and frameworks and apply them to companies of any size. So you don't have to be a tech company or the electric company to take what they've built and use it, because they've basically open sourced the whole project.
All right, so this is kind of the what. What is the cybersecurity framework? What is it? What is its function? What does it do? I'm not going to read all of the points off of the slide, but as the framework stands today in the 2.0 version, it's really just helping all organizations of all sizes address cyber risks. And so by doing that, they're able to communicate effectively through all of the departments in the organization. They're able to communicate effectively across institutions, government, academia, industry, and they're able to plan for cyber risk. So when we talk about what does it do, the Executive Order 13636 it made it clear that it was to remain voluntary, right? So non-regulatory industry or non-regulatory organization, it's voluntary. The framework is itself only exists so that we can reduce cybersecurity risk in an organization, big and small now. With 2.0, it's got small business all the way up to a mature large business. One of the key takeaways from this is it's a living document. The framework itself should be addressed or should be adjusted as you start to make controls for the document and as you start to build and grow your organization.
I can touch on the living document a little bit more. Another way that it's sort of a living document is the way that the security outcomes are written. You're tasked to cover certain aspects of cybersecurity throughout different parts of your organization and at different levels, but it's not making the standards for you. It's not telling you how you need to address each one of these. It's just letting you know that you need to address them, and it's giving you the structure to make your own plan. So that's why you don't have to tweak it for every company, and it's able to go on as long as it does without constant updates.
All right, a few things that just can't do. It cannot address all risks for all organizations. There's going to be unique risks. There's going to be different things for every organization. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It does try to be as broad in scope as possible so that it can cover as much of the cyber risks that the industry has identified, but it's not going to fit everything. And there's no checklist that you go down where you're like, okay, if we do this thing, then we're going to be covered for all of this risk. No, it's not going to work like that. And there's no certification for the cybersecurity framework. If you're employing the cybersecurity framework, you're just doing good housekeeping on managing your cyber risk. But it can apply to other certifications, like if you're going for ISO 27001, or if you're going for other NIST compliance, like 800-53, 800-171, those kind of compliances.
Who can use NIST? Like I said earlier, it is made for companies of all sizes. It can be for companies that were previously following the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 1.0, migrating to 2.0. That's kind of where our company currently lies. We're in the stages of finalizing our cybersecurity framework for 2.0. Organizations with no cybersecurity programs or informal cybersecurity programs can use it as well. It really is flexible. And it allows companies at different budget levels to determine what their risk appetite is and set the goals for their company. Because not every company can just afford to, spend thousands and thousands of dollars on cybersecurity just, at a whim. So there's different levels to being able to address things. Like Chad was saying, there's no third-party company coming out and auditing, but a lot of people do take the framework that they have with the NIST cybersecurity framework, and then they're able to add a few tweaks basically to leverage it into an ISO 27001.
Yeah, and something that's actually new for the framework 2.0 that didn't exist prior is they had a focus on small businesses and medium businesses, and they actually have a ton of resources and information to get your small business started. Even if you're outsourcing your cybersecurity needs, you can still address those risks to whoever you're outsourcing to. So if you have cybersecurity interests that you're managing, say like a small organization, small company that wants to start a rewards program, well, you're not going to be able to manage that in-house. You're going to have a third party managing that for you. But you'll both speak the same language if you're using the cybersecurity framework. All right, so the difference between 1.0 and 1.1 to 2.0 was really the biggest change was governance and the importance of governance. So the cybersecurity framework itself is a very high-level living document, and it's meant for executive leadership to look at that document and say, okay, these are the risks that we want to manage in our organization. This is what we have the funding for. This is where we want to focus our resources. Also, 2.0 brought in something that was slightly touched on in 1.1 is supply chain management. So supply chain management's huge now. Tariffs and all of those things, moving resources from one country to another. So managing your supply chain is super important. Right here, these are the core functions of NIST. So you'll see governance at the top. It's going to manage all of the oversight. This format right here, obviously separate, different from the circular format. This format right here is really good at communicating to your enterprise risk management team what you're doing with the cybersecurity framework. How are you addressing the cybersecurity risk with your organization? Because some of the actual language in the framework and in this format here will translate straight over to ERM, Enterprise Risk Management.
I just wanted to add one thing. So go back one slide. So with the addition of Govern to the NIST cybersecurity framework, not only does it really bring upper management and stakeholders into the loop, but it also allows them to basically communicate with all these different silos within the organization and be able to take feedback and give input to practitioners, to management, to different departments. And it was added because it was necessary to have a successful cybersecurity framework with 1.0. It just wasn't really established and explained. But you have to have participation from stakeholders, because they're the only people that can determine their risk appetite for the company. As a practitioner, we can't just say what we have to have as a company, because it's not up to us, not always anyways.
Going back to the governance, governance influences all of the other functions, right? So every single one of the identify, detect, respond, recover, all of the functions of the cybersecurity framework are all informed by the governance. And the governance is made up of the oversight of the organization, the risk management appetite for the organization, money. Money's a big thing. A practitioner might think, hey, I need this new firewall, but the people at the top that control the money, we're going to squeeze enough out of that firewall to make it last for another year.
Something coming up that Windows 11, Windows 10 updates are supposed to stop October. I know they've kind of been ringing that bell for a while now, and it keeps getting pushed back. But that's going to be a big expenditure, and there's ways to handle not moving all of your machines to Windows 11, and there's, I guess, the right way, which is to upgrade all the machines. There's different ways, and you kind of have to determine the needs for the company with the people who run the company.
Yeah, and the framework will help management kind of express the strategic vision for the organization through that risk management too. So if you have access to the risk management for the organization, then you can apply your cybersecurity risk management to those as well. So this is all, by the way, all of these graphics are straight out of the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. It's available on their website, and I have a link. This is a fantastic slide of how practitioners, managers, and executives make the policy decisions and use the framework to adjust for risk in the organization. So you'll have the executives determining the risk, where's the money got to go. Then you have the manager saying, hey, okay, well, if we're going to put our money in this place and we're going to address this risk, we need to make this policy. That goes to the practitioner. The practitioner says, hey, I put this in play, but the risk is not gone. There's still residual risk. Goes back to the manager. Manager goes back to the executive. Hey, we adjusted the risk. It's reduced but not eliminated. And then they either decide, do I want to apply more emphasis on that risk, or do we move on? We're good from there. It just requires consistent and like total communication from the top of the organization down. And culture is a huge part of that. So if you have an organization that just hasn't focused on cybersecurity for a very long time, and they're just now getting their feet wet, this is a really good framework to introduce to them to say, hey, listen, it's a spreadsheet. You're comfortable with that, with numbers. You're comfortable with spending money. This is how we apply risk management for our organization. Now this is how we apply cybersecurity risk management for our organization. And so it gives you a common ground to talk to.
And then they can take the risks, the risk levels that are determined within the framework. And I don't think that we've showed the framework yet. Is that? No, we haven't. No. I'll bring it up when we get to it in another slide. But you're able to basically, with the cybersecurity framework document, you're able to state where you're currently at for each one of the security measures, and then where we need to be and what we need to do to get to where we need to be. They're able to do cost-benefit analysis, and they're able to see the risks, and then they may need to speak with legal, or different departments to make the proper decisions. People that we, as practitioners or managers, may not even have access to.
Yeah, and the legal aspects of cybersecurity are constantly changing. So the cybersecurity framework is cyclical in some ways, right? So I wrote a cute little sentence on there. Identifying an issue allows us to protect that asset and then detect events that may require a response that leads to recovery, right? Just goes right around in the circle. But you also want to address every single one of those functions independently of each other as well. They feed in, but they can be isolated as well. So like, say you only want to apply the framework to the finance department in an organization. You can absolutely do that. You're not going to have everything holistically done for your entire company, but you're going to be able to manage just that one section of your finance, right? But when you're looking at all of those functions, governance is always in the center. It always informs all of the other ones, and that one's coming straight down from the top. Like, it is top-down driven.
Yeah, I mean, you can think about it. If you only identified your risks and you never protected yourself against them or detected when they happened, then all of them have to constantly be happening: identifying, protecting, detecting, responding, and recovering from said risks if you're unfortunate enough to have them happen. But governing is what brings it all together. Yeah.
Yeah, and so going a little bit back to what James's point was about organizations and their maturity in the cybersecurity framework, there's something called organizational profiles that you'll have constantly being reassessed, right? So the organizational profile is how mature is your organization at handling the cybersecurity risk in the framework. You start with your current tier and what's your target, right? So we're at tier 1. Can we realistically get all the way up to tier 4? Probably not without a lot of money or a lot of time.
Not this year.
Yeah, not this year. Is there a tier 0? No, there's not a tier 0, because if you were at tier 0, you wouldn't be doing anything. So tier 1, you're starting. Tier 2, yeah, you're using that risk management framework. You're going back to your risk management team for the organization. You're addressing their risks. And then tier 3.
May not always be doing the right thing about it. We know what
Right.
the risks are, and we're choosing to do the wrong thing sometimes. That's kind of tier 2.
Yeah. And then tier 3, are your processes repeatable? Are you able to get the same results when you start to adjust for your risk? And then tier 4, are you at a point where you can actually adapt to something that happens? Like, let's say malware takes over your systems. Can you go from cold to hot within a certain amount of time based on your recovery plan?
And then do you take that and learn from it to prevent that from happening in the future?
Exactly. Last point on this It does not replace your risk management analysis. The profiles are basically to inform your gap analysis. Where you are, where you need to be, what's going to get you there. All right, so this is kind of a few insights.
We wanted to make sure you guys have food while
Hey.
we talk. Sorry.
All right.
Interrupts, but there's some plates coming too, but, I didn't want to hand them out after.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, do we want to do a pizza break, or do we want to truck on through this and then have pizza? What do you guys think?
They're going to bring in plates, so
Okay.
when they bring in the plates, we'll definitely have to take a sec.
Okay.
So these are some insights from what James and I have been doing for the last 6 months or so. We took a look at the new framework. We took a look at governance and what that's going to mean to our organization. There were some things that needed to be addressed. Obviously, there's always going to be things that need to be addressed. But we started looking at how we could update our organizational profile so we could get all the way up to that adaptive Tier 4. So we updated that profile. So we said, this is our target. Tier 4 is going to be our target. Are we at 2? Are we at 3? Where are we at? But we want to get to Tier 4. How long is it going to take us? So using the framework and some of the resources that NIST has, we were able to kind of develop a roadmap for us to get there.
Yeah, and that kind of starts with taking the framework and maybe getting certain people involved with it that weren't previously involved with it, financial decision makers and things like that, informing them of the cybersecurity program. Some companies, they'll have, they're paying for cybersecurity, but they don't know what they're paying for. They're checking a box and moving on. But it's bringing upper level management to a level of understanding where you can communicate the risks.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a cultural issue too with your organization. Do you have a culture of security? Do you have a culture of making a product really rugged, but not necessarily secure? And then you have to shift your focus and your money to making that product secure. Is that going to cost you some of the ruggedness of that product? What's the balance there? Something that was insanely important to us is developing an action plan and roles and responsibilities. Like, who's going to take what portion of this and who's going to start implementing these? Which manager is going to be involved? Which practitioner is going to be involved? How are we going to convey this back up to our executive management?
That's what gets things moving, because without official points of contact and roles established, things kind of just set sometimes. If you don't have a specific person to contact, you may talk to the wrong person, and it may be some time before you're able to get movement. And like you said, we were working on this for 6 months at least. It took some time to get everything moving, but we finally got it.
And so this is what we use to inform a gap analysis, specifically with governance in our organization. This is a tool, it's a template that comes straight off of the NIST website. It's a little hard to see, but you can see your current priority and your current status, and then it breaks into what's your target priority, what's your target status. So it gives you a really good spreadsheet to collect everything in your organization. And it not just breaks down for governance, it also goes down for all of the other parts of NIST or parts of the cybersecurity framework, the core functions as well. So you can go through the entire list. We focused a lot on governance because it's the management part of the framework. And this is a cute obligatory video on the next slide. So if you guys want to get up and get some pizza while this video is going.
No worries. It's all safe and secure.
Please hold me 2 to 3 feet away from your face.
Huh?
Your avatar has been created. You can put me on now. Oh, hey! Hi there, I'm Misty. I'll be your guide to the world of the new and improved NIST cybersecurity framework. Wow! Is your company a startup, small, medium, or large organization? Fantastic! We can provide high-level guidance and a common language for managing your cybersecurity risks across all sectors and across any organization, no matter how big or small. Let me give you the highlights. In the Quick Start corner, we are making it easier to use profiles to help you learn through examples how others have implemented the framework, as well as create your own profile for where you are and where you want to be. No matter where you are from, whether you work in critical infrastructure or are part of a supply chain, you'll find the right tools for your organization. And one last thing, we are introducing a sixth function, Govern. What do you want to learn more about?
Where should we start if we don't know exactly where we are in our cybersecurity journey?
That's a great question. The framework's mechanism for describing an organization's current or target cybersecurity posture is called a framework profile.
So it's like a roadmap that helps you know where you are and where you want to be so that you can start figuring out how to get from A to B.
Exactly. And our supporting resources help you get there even faster.
But how do I communicate to my CEO and my board how cybersecurity fits along with our overall risk management strategy?
That's where Govern comes in. It was added to establish and monitor an organization's cybersecurity risk management strategy, expectations, and policy. Govern is in the center of the wheel because it informs how an organization will implement the other 5 functions, while at the same time receiving feedback from them of any needed changes. It's multi-dimensional.
What if you don't speak the technical language?
It translates technical language into terms that are familiar to business folks. We are all about making sure that everybody, from the CEO all the way down the supply chain, is speaking the same language. And speaking of language, it doesn't matter if you don't understand highly technical language, or in some cases even English. You'll be able to communicate your company's cybersecurity goals across all of your divisions, local or abroad.
Wow, you guys really thought of everything.
Almost everything. Cybersecurity is a fast-changing field, but we work very hard to stay ahead of the curve and make sure that we can help organizations like yours stay protected. Do you have any other questions?
Can I keep the goggles?
Sure. Come back anytime.
Where are you going?
Our CEO needs to see this.
So it basically just reinforces a lot of the points that I was talking about, but it was a cute video and I thought it'd be fun to put it in.
This last portion, I added this while we were here, so it's a little unrehearsed. I apologize. But what I wanted to do before going over the slide was ask you guys does anyone here work for a company that has received a cybersecurity questionnaire from another company in order to do business with them? Okay, us too. It's happening more and more these days, isn't it? The Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency, they have created a tool that you can kind of use to audit yourself and give yourself these questionnaires to kind of find out where you're going to fall with the other companies. They've made this available on GitHub. If you just go to CISA on GitHub, it's called CSET. It's a self-hosted application. You can run it on your computer. You can run it on a server. It's a website. It's basically a questionnaire that you get to run yourself, and you can go through the entire process. And if you're curious about it, I'm more of a hands-on type of person, so that's where I started. Chad likes spreadsheets. I like to run Docker containers. We're, to each their own.
I like to run Docker containers.
I just have some screenshots, and I just wanted to show it to you guys. So you basically, you create an assessment, you create the date, fill it all in. You pick where you currently think you are on your security. And then what's really neat about this is you're able to, I should have taken a better screenshot, but you're able to go in and use the NIST cybersecurity framework, or if you work in other infrastructure, critical infrastructure, you're able to take, say if you worked in an electric company or you owned an electric company, you're able to then take other standards and also apply that to this audit. It has a really neat tool to document your network infrastructure and your cybersecurity infrastructure. So you can use that to kind of document where everything is at all the different sites, and it's going to ask you a lot of questions about your infrastructure, switches, firewalls, servers, all of that. And then it basically has two modes. You can just have it ask you all the questions, or you can have it ask the questions that would be required for the standards that you're holding yourself up to. And then you get a score. It's pretty neat. You can kind of use this to continuously improve and constantly create new assessments and see where you're at. And it's updated when standards change. And you use that in conjunction with the documentation, the cybersecurity framework, and you can use this to create your own cybersecurity department, basically. It is the framework and the tool that you need to start taking cybersecurity seriously and auditing yourself. So, I don't know. I wanted to throw this up there in case anybody was curious and wanted to get more hands-on. But that's all I've got. We got our references.
Yeah, so these are the references, most of it straight from NIST. There's, I think, one, Balbix is a security company, and then the executive order. And all of the non-CSET pictures were all from NIST documentation as well, the Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. I really hope that somebody has at least one question. Oh, yes, sir. Back in the back with the penguins? Is that a... Oh, yeah, okay.
If no one has any questions, you did a really good job.
Yeah.
Or a really
Yes.
bad job.
Does NIST CSF apply to both organizational security and application security?
I believe that it does, because you need to treat the application as data.
Like products and services that you provide?
Yes. So, in a short, yes. But you can focus it on anything you want to focus it on. The cybersecurity framework can focus on anything. And you don't have to use all of the functions of the framework for it to be addressing that specific thing. So if you have an application that you want to say, okay, well, we want to be able to identify these things happening to that application, yeah, you can apply the framework to that. The way that we do it for our organization is a more holistic kind of overall how we are managing the cybersecurity risk for the organization itself.
And the application, if like say the application's in development, it's data, and it is treated as data and protected as data within protecting your data in NIST. And then say if you have hardware or outside infrastructure that the product or applications communicate with, you're also protecting that infrastructure as well. It really is up to the organization. That's the beauty of it, though.
It comes up on the survey from like potential customers that send you the security survey. It not only inquires organizationally about your systems and processes,
Right.
but also tell me about your application and how it's developed.
It doesn't focus as much as that. There are other programs to focus on secure software development, but you can definitely handle a lot of that with NIST cybersecurity framework.
Yeah, there's a secure software development framework, and if you're talking about managing unclassified information, that's a NIST special publication 800-171. If you want to talk about, I think it's 800-53, which is controls for non-infrastructure, I think. But yeah, there's other, and so that this framework will actually tie into those resources, and you can list those as like informative references as well.
Any other questions?
So you said when standards change, that tool changes, but how often do standards change?
They went from 1 to 1.1 to 2. There's been 3 changes.
Are you referring to CSET?
The cybersecurity framework.
You said that tool updates itself when
This
this
one.
standards change, how often do they actually, or with any?
I can't really speak on all of the other standards.
Okay. It's not something that happens every third week.
I would hope not, but
Their last up that they released the current version. Their last one before that was it released November. I don't know on their GitHub. I don't know how, if this is reading directly from their website, if it would require an application update to have the new information or not.
well, let's just say, I mean, whoever's managing it, how much resources and money they have to be able to update it on a regular basis.
Here's one. Within the CSET, does it do cross-mapping to other requirements? So as far as the CSF, will it cross-map different controls from that to IRS to 800-3?
It doesn't, I mean, so I've used this tool. I just put in the NIST cybersecurity framework because that's what I was working with. When you select more options, you get more questions. Some of them may cross map, while others have specific questions for specific requirements for different requirements, if that makes sense. Thank you.